with another ChemiUnion podcast. I'm Judy Rodriguez. I'm an account manager at ChemiUnion. And in this podcast today, we're going to talk a little more about acne. Acne is a problem that affects more than 80% of young people worldwide, affecting up to 40% of adults. In Brazil, it is the number one reason why people consult a dermatologist, and it's very important because it directly impacts the self-esteem of millions of people. The good news is that there are solutions and treatments. So today, we're going to get to know more about acne and how to fight it with our guest today, Mel Maye. She's our account manager in the West Coast for ChemiUnion. Welcome, Mel.
Hi, Judy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Mel, explain to us what acne really is.
Acne is actually a multifunctional condition. It all starts with an increase of sebum production on the skin. Sebum is actually food for a very specific bacteria, what we call Cutibacterium acne, or very short C. acne. A lot of the people out there actually know this as P. acne, which recently got a name change happening to C. acne. The C. acne is actually located in the hair follicle area and also a big part of our natural microbiota. But now, with this overproduction of sebum which is happening, we have now enough food for the C. acne to eat off, but also energy now, so that the C. acne can start proliferating. And with this over amount of C. acne now on the skin, it also starts to create a localized inflammation, which also then has an impact on the change of the keratinization process, which we will see later on as the formation of the comedone, what we all know as pimple or acne on the skin.
And what kind of things can influence the appearance of acne?
Acne is very common in teenagers during puberty and also adults, here mainly females up to age 40, 45, where we see a very high activation of the sebaceous glands happening. The main cause for the overproduction of sebum during those times is connected to an increase of the hormones we are going through during, for example, puberty, or in adults during menstruation cycles or pregnancy. Interestingly, during adolescency, acne is mainly found in males. And when we're talking about the adults, it's mainly the females which have to deal with acne. Other factors which are influencing the appearance of acne are, for example, ethnicity. African American Hispanics seem to have more acne appearance than, for example, Asian, Caucasian, or Indians. Genetics are a big part as well. Adults and teenagers whose parents have suffered from acne are more likely affected as well. And we all know the habits like cigarettes, consumption of chocolate, dairy products, fat-rich food, which should be avoided, and are also very big subjects of studies if they actually have an influence or contribution to acne appearance. But these positive correlations are still widely debated in the scientific community and not yet 100% confirmed. They should be considered with caution during, for example, the diagnosis and treatment of acne.
Wow, thank you for that insight, Mel. And are there any differences between acne in teenagers and acne in adults, or are they the same?
From a biological point of view, they are the same. But the clinical characteristics of teenage and adult acne are very different and should be really taken into consideration when recommending appropriate treatments. While acne in teenagers is more intense and appears overnight, adult acne tends to be milder, more moderate, but also very persistent. Additionally, adult acne is concentrated in the U-zone, what we know as the chin and neckline area, and usually without visible comedones, despite inflammatory conditions being frequently present. Teenage acne, on the other hand, appears on the T-zone, which is the forehead, nose, and cheek area, where we will see numerous visible comedone lesions connected to either inflammatory areas as well. For this reason, it is more frequent to achieve faster and more effective results in the treatment of teenage acne than in adults, who should adopt a more long-term therapy for acne control.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, adult acne seems to just kind of appear as bumps then, instead of like pimple looking?
It's more connected to the inflammatory problems and more in the bump area. So this is why it's actually really recommended to have a daily cleaning treatment or cleaning procedure happening for the adults.
Right. Okay. And it sounds like for teenagers, they're able to see faster results. Is that what I understand?
That is correct, because as teenagers, you have the comedones, the pimple, as we know, happening on the skin, and it's easier to treat this area by outside treatments with drying out the pimple. So you will be very fast seeing the results happening and also therefore get the problem under control.
Okay, so what about blackheads, pimples, or acne lesions? What is the difference between these?
Acne lesions are classified as non-inflammatory, either known as being open or the closed comedones, and inflammatory lesions like papules, pustules, and so on. Non-inflammatory lesions result from the abnormality that occurs in the follicles when there is a sebum accumulation happening, and therefore also a bacteria proliferation. And we see an increase in keratinized cells. In these cases, the pores will clog and the comedone is pretty much produced. So pretty much what we are characterizing as a comedone or a pimple at the end of the day. On the other hand, the open comedone, or as we know it, a blackhead, are produced when the pores are getting bigger, are dilating, and in addition you have more sebum, but also you have an accumulation of keratin happening, which undergoes an oxidation process when it's exposed to air. It turns black, which also gives the blackheads the name.
Okay, got it. I didn't know that they were different. And it's interesting that blackheads are actually oxidized keratin that's inside a dilated pore. Interesting. So what are blackheads and pimples? Are they different stages of acne?
Actually, there are different phases of severities of the same problem, which is acne.
And how do we take care of acne-prone skin?
So basically, care for acne-prone skin should really focus on reducing and also really controlling the oil on our skin. But at the same time, we need to avoid to cause dryness of the skin, because this would lead to a completely other problem of the skin. We also need to reduce the formation of the blackheads and pimples, and also improving the inflammation we have connected to acne at the same time. One of the biggest things we also really need to start or stop doing is the popping or squeezing of the pimple itself. We all do this because we think we will improve the situation and have the acne problem faster out of our way, but unfortunately it's the total opposite. You are actually worsening your acne situation because you are releasing now more of this inflammatory mediator on the skin, and this will cause more acne later on and also more inflammation on the skin. And as more inflammation you have, the more you have the risk of later on developing the hyperpigmentation, which is also connected to acne.
Wow. So the more that we pick out pimples, the more inflamed it gets. And the more inflamed it gets, the more likely we'll continue to have this inflammation, and that can in turn cause our skin to have dark spots where the pimple was.
That is absolutely correct. And this is also why you quite often see years after you already took care of your acne and you don't have the visible acne anymore, you still have the signs that you probably did too much picking later on. Yeah.
And is this type of care you've described suitable for any type of acne, like both for teenage and adult acne?
Definitely. All acne-prone skin needs this care. In addition, of course, to the good hygiene that does not cause the rebound effect.
And what is the rebound effect?
Rebound effect is when you are very aggressively remove everything you have on your skin with soaps, exfoliators, and what your skin will do is automatically overproduce an intense amount of oiliness to make up for this over cleaning, which literally what brings you back to the beginning of the problem, which all started with an overproduction of sebum.
And can ChemiUnion help with this care?
ChemiUnion launched maskne, which is a 3-in-1 multifunctional active ingredient, and it's designed to treat acne on 3 different levels. If you remember earlier of our conversation, the big 3 causes of acne were the sebum overproduction, we have too much of the C. acne on the skin, and also the inflammation. So first, our maskne will reduce the acne-causing bacteria C. acne or Cutibacterium acne. Second, it will reduce the redness as well as the inflammation of the acne lesions, and also it will control and balance the sebum production. Maskne can be used in any type of products indicated for the treatment of acne, like your cleansers, soaps, lotions, toners, serums, gels, and so on. And you can even combine it with commonly used active ingredients like, for example, salicylic acid and lactic acid. This is very important because a raw material should not only be safe and functional, it also needs to be compatible with commonly used actives for acne treatment, but also needs to be easy incorporated in as many different acne treatments as possible.
Mel, can you tell our listeners about maskne's clinical studies?
Of course, maskne has been clinically tested for up to 28 days. But we actually can see very significant results already after 7 days, which is very unique and also extremely excellent because most of the anti-acne ingredients out there are showing results only or first results after 14 days.
Wow, that's literally half of the time of the typical results. And why is that?
That's because our maskne acts at the origin of the problem, which is the proliferation of the C. acne. And not only is treating the consequence of acne by, for example, masking the problem itself. Maskne's effectiveness was actually perceived by more than 80% of the volunteers during the clinical trials.
Wow, that's a really high percentage.
Yes, it is.
Is there anything else that differentiates maskne from other actives?
Actually, yes. Maskne is extremely active and effective in very low concentrations. We tested it at concentrations between 0.5 and 1%.
And is that a good thing?
Yes, in a formulator's life, it's always easier to incorporate lower percentage of an active than higher percentage of an active.
Anything else about maskne?
Yes, maskne is also a vegan active, which means we did not test it on animals itself, and none of the ingredients which are used to create our maskne is either animal derived or tested on animals. It's also without preservative system, plant-based, and also follows the green chemistry methodology.
Okay, Mel, how does maskne fit into the green chemistry concept?
Maskne is a biodegradable and safe product whose raw materials all come from a renewable plant source.
You mentioned green chemistry earlier. What does it mean?
Green chemistry is a way of creating and producing chemicals by reducing or eliminating the use or generation of substances harmful to either humans or our environment. This concept is also very well known as clean technology, and it is already relatively common in industrial applications, especially in countries which have a very well developed chemical industry that have very strict controls over the emission of pollutants. And this is more gradually worldwide adapted and is already as well a big part of the academic environment now.
Now, can you elaborate more on the practice of green chemistry specifically?
Of course, the processes of green chemistry can actually be divided into 3 large categories. Number 1 would be the use of renewable and recycled raw material sources. The second would be the increased energy efficiency or the use of less energy to produce either the same product or a bigger amount of this product. Or, for example, instead of using hot processing, going into cold processing. And the third would be to avoid the use of any toxic or harmful substances and some substances which will accumulate over time and then become harmful.
How are these practices applied with maskne?
Maskne meets the category number 1 and 3, which means all the components we are using to create maskne come from a renewable source, and also during our production process, we avoid the use of any toxic or harmful substances.
Wow, thank you for that extensive insight, Mel.
You're very welcome, Judy.
So now let's talk about acne treatment. Does Maracne treat all types of acne?
Yes, absolutely. Maracne can help with any type of acne within either teenagers, adults, and even with the maskne.
Yes, maskne has been a huge issue since the pandemic. But how is it different from regular acne?
It is actually not really that much different. First, maskne stands short for mechanical acne. It all kind of starts that you're wearing a fabric on your face, and this fabric is causing a friction, and that will very soon lead to an inflammation. It is warm under the face mask, so you are producing more sebum, you are breathing, you are sweating, so there's more moisture. So you start to create the perfect environment for C. acne to live on there and create later on, if you don't treat it, the acne problems we know.
Okay, so we should be treating maskne the same way.
Absolutely. You should have your daily kind of cleaning routine and your cosmetic treatments. If any of the cosmetic treatments are not helping, we really recommend to consult also for the maskne, a dermatologist, to help you to treat this.
Excellent. Thank you, Mel. Well, that's all the questions I have for today. Thank you so much, Mel, for joining me on the Chemi Union podcast.
Thank you so much, Judy, for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right. Well, we'll be back soon with news and tips from our guests. Until next time, bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.